Congratulations, election judges. You're about to start the last video in the Rules and Processes series for your 2020 election judge training. Thanks so much for your commitment to all of this training so far. Your next steps will be to complete some equipment training so you know what sort of equipment and devices you'll be using in the polling places on election day. I know you may be thinking that there's a lot of information, and you're right, there is. There's a lot of important work completed by our election judges in the polling places. However, we don't want you to be intimidated by the amount of information you've been exposed to as you've worked through your election judge training. We have many resources available, including guides and checklists, experienced election judges, head judges, and county staff available to help you out on election day. So we want you to be aware of many of these concepts, but don't worry about having everything memorized. There's always a tool or a resource available for you to be a great election judge in 2020. I'm going to switch over to the materials now, and we'll do this recap so you can move on to the equipment portion. As we work through the recap for the rules and processes portion of our training, I do want to revisit how the training fits into a larger picture for you so you know what your next steps are. But we'll spend most of our time talking about the specifics in Blue Earth County, as well as some election laws that you need to be aware of so that you can fulfill your duties correctly on election day. I'll end with some resources to help you understand where you can learn more and do additional research and studying if you choose to do so. We've showed this elections judge training program slide many times now, and I want to let you know that you're nearly done with the rules and processes piece. As long as you followed your portal link and have been completing these videos and those short quizzes after each video, you'll receive documented credit for the rules and processes portion. Once that is done, you'll be able to move on to our equipment section, which allows you to understand better the equipment you'll be using in the polling place. And then finally, you'll be able to sign up for that optional in-person capstone session where you'll be able to ask questions, utilize the equipment, test out any of those equipment functions that you might want to learn more about, and just get a better final overview of the election process and what you'll be doing on election day. So let's do some quick reminders before we move into the majority of our presentation today. We want to make sure that you have the calendars marked for the two elections in 2020 that we have remaining, August 11th and November 3rd. Of course, those are both Tuesdays, and if you applied and signed up to work those elections, we want to make sure your calendars are clear for those days. I also want to point out that we rely on email, so please check it regularly, including your spam or junk folders. Sometimes our mass emails are found in those folders, and we don't want you to miss any important messages. They will come from two different email accounts, either at moduselections.com or at blueearthcountymn.gov. They might have my name, Michael Stolberger, they might say BEC Elections, or they might say Christy Mays, but just please watch for emails from us. And if you ever feel like you're not receiving some sort of communication, email us or give us a call and we'll make sure you're not missing anything. We also need to make sure you let us know if another family member or spouse is serving as an election judge so that we can assign you to different polling places. We also need to know if you're a candidate on the ballot or are a relative or live with a candidate on the ballot so that we can make sure that you're not working in a polling place that would be a conflict of interest. And also don't hesitate to let us know of any special circumstances that might impact your ability to serve as an election judge. On the bottom of the screen is a checklist of things that you as an election judge should be thinking about. First off, we want you to complete your training. We want you to plan to work your full shift that you committed to. That might include requiring you to vote early if you're not working in the location where you normally vote. Make sure that you've requested time off of work. There is an option to receive your normal pay from your employer. Reach out to us if you'd like to learn more about that option. Then you kind of wait until you hear about your assignment. We'll make those assignments closer to the election day, and you'll also receive some communications from your head judges giving you any last-minute tips and tricks as we get closer to the election day. On election day, be sure to dress comfortably and bring food. Sometimes breaks are hard to come by on election day, and we want to make sure that you're well prepared to take care of any of your personal needs regarding food and comfortable shoes and whatnot. Please don't be late to start your shift. If you're working the full shift, be sure to stay there the whole day. If you've committed to a half a day, please be sure to arrive before your shift starts and stay through the end of it. We also encourage you to work as a team and have fun on election day. It is an exciting day, and we do a very important part of the process to make sure that folks are able to exercise their right to vote. We want to make sure that even though the night might get long, that you do not leave the polling place until you're dismissed by your head judge. Okay. As I've mentioned before in our training, we've used videos from the Secretary of State's office. They're a good introduction to the overall general information related to serving as an election judge. We've supplemented it with training specific to Blue Earth County, and some of that training will be provided in our equipment training that will be coming up soon for you. Here are some specifics related to Blue Earth County Elections Administration that we want you to be aware of. There's a ton on this slide. We don't expect you to have it memorized, but we do make it available again on our website so that you have a resource. When we're setting up the polling place, we want to make sure we're following checklist and information. Don't forget to sign the Oath of Election Judge form, and be sure to consider social distancing when setting up booths and chairs and the traffic flow on election day. We have to make sure that we post all signs provided, as well as the American flag, and our assisted voting device, the OmniBallot, needs to be set up to ensure privacy. Make sure that you prepare and 2 judges initial an adequate number of ballots to start the day, but don't go overboard and initial all of them all at once. We need to be ready to roll at 7 in the morning, and polls will open at that time promptly. Throughout the election day, continue to work as a team and use what's called an incident log to make note of any unusual events. We always say that if there's any doubt if you should document it, write it down on the incident log. Also remember to wear your name tags. Your name tags must have your first name. Do not identify your party on your name tags. We also want you to treat all voters equitably and professionally and assist them only to the extent that they request it. This means that you'll be doing your election judge duties and responsibilities to the best of your ability, relying on guides and resources to get to the right answer. As a response to COVID-19, we're going to make sure we're keeping our polling places clean, sanitized, and orderly. Always secure blank ballot stock and make sure that your counts of ballot stock are up to date and current. Once we reach 8 p.m. and the polls close, we continue to work as a team and follow checklists, including the end of night checklist. We want to remember that any voter in line at 8 p.m. is entitled to vote, provided that they don't leave the line. And we only start closing equipment after the last voter has worked through the process. That doesn't mean in a slow primary election that you might not start shutting down some of your poll pads early. We just can't close all of the equipment until the last voter has voted. We want to make sure all voted ballots have been tabulated and run through the tabulator, and we pack up items according to instructions. Remember that election judges must stay until directed to leave, and we're always here to help you if you have questions and you experience issues as you're closing your polls on election night. Here are some election laws that we want you to be aware of. Remember that voters can have anyone assist them in the polling place except the voter's employer or voter's union representative. We also want to remind you that your party affiliation may be shared with other election judges in your polling place, only for purposes of election day activities. Another reminder that the polls close at 8 p.m. However, voters in line at 8 p.m. can complete the voting process, provided they don't leave their spot in line. Curbside voting is available, and we talked about that in a different training module. We also want to remind you that election day results might be delayed because of the amount of early voting and some changes to the early voting processing steps, and the state law that prohibits our release of partial vote totals. The reason we're sharing that with you is so that we can set expectations with election judges and voters across the state that results may not be available immediately at the close of polls or later election night. One very important reminder is related to campaigning on election day. Campaigning in or near the polling place is prohibited. This means speech, clothing, etc. that discusses a candidate, a party, or a question that is on that ballot in that polling place. If a voter refuses to comply with this requirement, the head judge should ask the voter to comply once again and then document that refusal. The voter is still entitled to vote. However, we ask election judges to help that voter through the process as quickly as possible to minimize the disruption. There are many resources available for our election judges, as I've mentioned numerous times. The Election Judge Guide is an awesome resource. It'll be available in the polling place. It's available online, and you can also request a printed version. The county website also has a ton of information, as does your Election Judge portal, where all of these videos will live. We also want you to rely on information and guides provided on Election Day, specific to tasks and responsibilities in the polling places. And then, of course, as I've mentioned, we're always available. I want to quickly show you where on our website you can find these videos, in case that's easier for you than the portal. As we move over to our any sort of web browser that you're using, you can type in www.becvotes.org, and that will take you to the Blue Earth County Elections homepage. On this homepage, you can go to Election Judges and Election Judge Training to see all of the material that we have available to you. As the videos become available, there'll be hot links available to actually review them, and any additional slides and information will also live there. So please feel free to visit this page to get more information as we get closer to Election Day. And as I end every video, our staff is always available to answer any questions. Please don't hesitate to contact us. And with that, I do congratulate you on completing the rules and processes part of your training. Your next videos are going to be more tied to the elections equipment, and you'll be able to see exactly how that equipment is going to help you be a more efficient and effective election judge, and also to provide the tools and resources that we need for our voters so that they can complete their vote on Election Day. Thanks so much.